So Fur the Greedy Framer feels like she's been used, and so what she does is she goes and she tells Indian intelligence. And she tells Indian intelligence that someone in U.S. law enforcement is stalking me, harassing me. I don't know who this person is, and I think he's going to rape and murder me. How much of this is true? Not much of it. Why? Because she knew who this person was. She was sleeping with him for a very long time while being married. And, yeah. And so a lot of the things that she said about him were absolutely false. That she didn't know who this person was, and she thought that he might have been in U.S. law enforcement or something, but she didn't know who this person was, and he was trying to rape and murder her. Well, as it turns out, she knew exactly who this person was, and she found out that he wasn't like worth as much as she thought he was, and so she wanted to get revenge. She exaggerated that testimony to the point where the Indian government had to literally go lecture Joe Biden on human rights concerns. Pretty much. That's how much she exaggerated that testimony. She's an expert exaggerator. Okay. The Indian government basically also had to contact me and let me know that my dad's younger sister was getting raped and murdered by someone in U.S. law enforcement. That's how much she exaggerated that false testimony. One country is lecturing another on human rights concerns, only for us to now find out that her brother, my dad, the Greedy Framer, talks to that person all day and night long. Why? Because they need U.S. law enforcement now. My dad, the Greedy Framer, wants to enviously lock up my brain savant so my mother can't get any of the brain savant money, or he wants to get the money for himself. Try to scam the courts into forcing me to go to him, try to blackmail me over there. On March 7th, he started blackmailing me with price tags of millions of euros, at least 77 times a day. That's how much of an envious, greedy person that this sick man is. All he does is sit at home and try to blackmail me for price tags of money because he knows he doesn't deserve a single penny. He just wants to get it somehow or another. Basically, yeah, when Fur the Greedy Framer finds out that my dad, the Greedy Framer, is talking to that man in U.S. law enforcement that the Indian government had to go lecture Joe Biden on human rights abuse due to, Fur the Greedy Framer, she just says, oh, okay, well, that's the guy that almost raped and murdered me. Well, anyways, tomorrow I'll be fighting for you in court again. Fighting for you, as in my dad, the Greedy Framer. And we know for a fact that she's mainly doing this for my dad, the Greedy Framer, who starts crying every time he sees that my brain savant's about to get freed. He would start crying and panicking and calling me 22 minutes past midnight on February 11th, sending me a porn star's picture with his sister's name Farah written on it at 3:17 a.m. on February 11th that same night. 3:56 a.m. sending me a picture of his ugly, weirdo-looking sister, someone resembling her. Goes into a panic, cries all night about it. Why? Because my brain savant's about to get freed. My mother is going to get all the money. She's going to become extremely rich, and he's not going to get a single penny. Every single time he sees that my brain savant's about to get freed, I'm sure he would call his sister, Fur the Greedy Framer, and I'm sure he would say something along the lines of, you didn't help me much, you should have done more, blah, blah, blah. If only you did this, I wouldn't be sitting here crying at home all day long for the rest of my life while my ex-wife gets all the money and I get nothing. Basically, yes, that's what the story is mainly all about. Fur the Greedy Framer finds out that my dad, the Greedy Framer, has been talking to the man who was supposed to be raping and murdering her, due to which the Indian government had to go lecture Joe Biden on human rights abuse and inform me that my dad's younger sister was about to get raped and murdered by someone in U.S. law enforcement. And Fur the Greedy Framer says, oh, nice. That's the guy that almost raped and murdered me. Well, anyways, tomorrow I'll be fighting for you again, as in my dad, the Greedy Framer, to make sure that your ex-wife doesn't get any of the brain savant money that you're not getting. Yes. And this is how she treats it now. And when she was exaggerating it, she exaggerated it to the point where one government had to go lecture another one on human rights abuses. Do you see the difference in the way she handled the same situation? Completely different. On the one hand, she's getting murdered, raped and murdered. On the other hand, totally okay. Why is it totally okay now? Because right now there's money involved. Artificial intelligence has reported that my brain savant has the potential for making me extremely rich really, really fast. Probably the only brain savant in the world that increases in power exponentially over time. And law enforcement has locked it up, and she has to get either money one way or another. She's already tried 3 different methods. Incest on March 7th. Starting February 21st, blackmail price tags, and also the third method is forced marriage with her daughter, with the fear of false testimonies without prenups, and then harass me for the rest of my life for money. And so right now, all her concern is exaggerating false testimony right now. But you have to understand the fact that while exaggerating a false testimony against me right now, Fur the Greedy Framer is completely ignoring the fact that by exaggerating a false testimony with the same law enforcement right now that she claimed were responsible for almost raping and murdering her, she's basically, what she's doing is, so basically what she did was she fabricated a false testimony against me, against a person in U.S. law enforcement in 2019, claiming that he was trying to rape and murder her, due to which basically the Indian government had to go and lecture Joe Biden on human rights crimes. So much exaggeration, chaos, and mass panic and chaos she created, Indian government had to contact me and let me know that my dad's younger sister was about to get raped and murdered by someone in U.S. law enforcement. And the way she handles it right now is, that guy, he almost raped and murdered me. Well, you go ahead and talk to him today, and I'm going to go ahead and go to court for you tomorrow and fight for your case to make sure that your ex-wife doesn't get any of the brain savant money that you're not getting, is what Fur the Greedy Framer tells my dad, the Greedy Framer, when she finds out that that same man whom she exaggerated the false testimony against in 2019 has been talking to my dad, the Greedy Framer, all day, night long. This is how she responds to it. So what does that mean? It proves through facts and evidences that Fur the Greedy Framer was lying in 2019 and exaggerating, and that it also proves that she's an expert exaggerator, due to which she was able to exaggerate it so much that one country had to go lecture another on human rights crimes. And then we see her powers of exaggerations again on November 20th. Where we know for a fact she was involved, since as soon as the government informant was announced, she was removed from the spokesperson stand. So on November 20th, 2025, what happens is, the government gives her a false testimony to try to see how good she is at exaggerating. And how good was Fur the Greedy Framer? Well, she was definitely involved in it, since the government informant fully witnessed her prepping and being fully involved in it. She was so good at prepping this false testimony to one of her siblings, Framer siblings, or if she did it herself, that it created so much mass panic and chaos over a crime and setting that did not even exist on November 20th, that no news anchor on CNN was able to smile on live TV for days afterwards. November 27, 2025, Governor Josh Green had to put aside the vaccine issue at that time to deal with Fur the Greedy Framer's false testimony against me that she was fully involved in. We know she was fully involved in it because she was removed from the spokesperson stand as soon as it was announced that a government informant was there. And she was only fabricating this false testimony and exaggerating against me out of extreme envy and revenge for me not marrying her weirdo-looking abnormal daughter named Zara. We know this for a fact since June 16th. She's been harassing me with these. She's been harassing me with basically trying to force me to marry her weirdo-looking ugly daughter every single day for like days afterwards, for 2 weeks afterwards, like a forced marriage thing. You marry my daughter, or I keep fabricating and exaggerating against you. June 16th, today's July 2nd, June 16th, it's like 2 weeks ago. June 16th, 10:56 p.m., June 16th, 11:51 p.m., June 17th, 12:16 a.m., June 18th, 8:07 p.m., June 19th at 12:58 p.m., June 22nd, 3:12 p.m., June 20th at 3:13 p.m., June 24th at 2:03 p.m., June 27th at 1:47 p.m., June 27th at 1:52 p.m., June 28th at 12:16 a.m., June 28th at 3:26 a.m., June June 29th at 2 a.m., June 29th at 9:50 p.m. All of these sent through law enforcement, and so it's inarguable. She asked them to harass me about marrying her, forcefully trying to get me to marry her daughter before my brain savant could get freed. She's still going after that same thing that she tries to enviously make a false testimony against on November 20th, which was I sent him ads for my daughter all year 2024, and he didn't marry her. So revenge and envy was the motive for November 20th. It's not my job to marry someone's daughter. If I don't want to marry her, I don't want to marry her. You can't force someone to marry your daughter. That's not how it works. And this is the third method of money grab that she has. First was obviously a blackmail price tag starting February 21st. $60 million one seemed very legitimate. She sent it 8 times, and all sent through law enforcement, by the way. So there's no denying it. She can't be like, oh no, I didn't send it. Oh yes, you did. And you send it exactly after the government found out that the second set of lies that you were making, you were already confessed to the government informant. So the timing has to be looked at as well. November 20th gets caught. She's like, oh darn, November 20th just got caught. I worked so hard for that one. And then second set of lies she was making very aggressively. Well, November 20th caught, but these lies are totally true, and you have to believe it because this is a court, and I'm making a testimony, and you have to take my testimony. Well, the courts do take her testimony, but it just so turns out that those testimonies were also confessed to the government informant while fabricating November 20th that those testimonies were going to be planned lies that they were going to make after November 20th to make sure that my brain savant could not get freed. So basically, yes. And so that is what happens. That is what happened. And so as soon as she gets caught and found out, guess what? On February 21st, she starts blackmailing me with price tags of money. Of basically, what she really wants is $60 million. Illegally assured to her. The timing has to be looked at exactly right when the government lets her know, like, your second set of lies, turns out your framer sister already confessed that these were going to be planned lies after November 20th. We're so sorry. You've been caught with this one again. And right as soon as she goes, darn it, second set of lies, they're never going to believe me again, that's when she starts. $60 million is what she wants illegally assured to her. February 21st at 8:18 p.m., February 22nd at 8:42 p.m., February 22nd at 11:11 p.m., February 24th at 7:58 a.m., February 25th at 11:32 p.m., February 26th at 5:41 a.m., February 26th at 5:44 a.m., February 26th at 5:56 a.m. Yes, 8 times. Make sure I understand the fact that she wants $60 million. Farah, you can ask me in my sleep, how much money do you think I want from you? And I'll let Farah know, Farah, you want $60 million from me. You send it to me 8 times. You wake me up in my sleep and I could still tell you that. But guess what? You won't get 60 cents out of me because that's not how these things work. And she only started it after she got caught with the second set of lies, and I'm not stupid. No one told me, but yes, that much I can add. November 20th, just been caught, and then 3 months later, she just remembers that she needs an illegal assurance of $60 million? I don't think so. I think she was making more lies against me, and those lies were already confessed to the government informant. No one told me these things, by the way. It's just 1 + 1 = 2. November 20th gets caught, and then guess what? She had more lies that she was making against me to make sure that no one else's daughter gets the money, the brain savant money. Her daughter couldn't. And February 11th, when her brother, my dad, the greedy framer, was panicking, calling me all night after midnight, saying, so nice to hear from you after so long. 22 minutes past midnight on February 11th. And you know what kind of hearing we were having on February 10th? Not very nice. I'll tell you that much. He was arguing against me all day in court, making up lies against me, and I was arguing back against him, saying that this man is a liar. He's only doing this out of extreme envy of my mother, wanting my mother to get any of the brain savant money. Artificial intelligence has predicted my brain savant to be extremely profitable and rare, and that it's the only one of its kind on the planet that increases in power over time. He's going to lock it up in any way, shape, or form possible with as many lies as possible, so that my mother cannot get any of the money that he cannot get. And so February 11th, yeah, all night long, the guy's like texting me, so nice to hear from you after so long. 22 minutes past midnight. And you know what kind of hearing we were having on February 10th? Not very nice. I'll tell you that much right now. And 3:17 a.m., he sends me a porn star's picture with his sister Farah's name on it. Then 3:56 a.m., a picture of a woman resembling his ugly, weird sister in Florida. Like, what is going on over here? This man's gone crazy over money. He basically wanted illegal assurance of money. And so Farah, being as, arrogant and stubborn as she is, she comes out, she's like, I'll get the money, don't worry. And yeah, genius move for her, because right now she's trying to make narrations against me again out of envy of not wanting to see my brain savant out performing with someone else's daughter with the money. But guess what? I've got evidence right here. $60 million that Farah, the greedy framer, started sending me blackmail price tags for starting February 21st, when she found out that the second set of lies were all caught by the government. As being confessed lies before November 20th, telling the government informant, we're going to make more lies against him after November 20th, just to make sure that his brain savant does not get unlocked at any cost. Our daughter's not getting the money, no one else's daughter is either. $60 million, price tag blackmail, as soon as she finds out that there's no way the government informant's been confessed to with everything. $60 million, February 21st, 8:18 p.m., February 22nd, 8:42 p.m., February 22nd, 11:11 p.m., February 24th, 7:58 a.m., February 25th, 11:32 p.m., February 26th, 5:41 a.m., February 26th, 5:44 a.m., February 26th, 5:56 a.m. 8 times, letting me know I want $60 million illegally assured to me. And then I'll let you go. And I just said back to her, like, 0 cents, $0. That's how much I'll give you an illegal assurance of. Not 1 red cent. Because I know for a fact you're not nice enough to let go that easily. And if you're asking for illegal assurances of money, that means you've been caught again, Farah. And you've got no other way except for getting money like a money grab would. And that's why you're sending me these blackmail price tags. It's not because you feel nice and you feel like, oh, let's just let him go, take some of the money. No, you're not that nice. You've been caught with too many lies, even after November 20th. All confessed to the government informant before November 20th. By the way, no one told me these things, but it's obvious. And as soon as she finds out, she obviously goes into a panic and she says, well, might as well get some illegal assurances of money. Well, that wasn't a very smart thing to do, because I have it all noted and it was sent by law enforcement. So there's no arguing about it. And the timing has to be looked at right when they get caught with their second set of lies. Let's get illegal assurances of money before his brain savant gets freed, since that's all we could do. Then they tried incest, and then right now for the past 2 weeks, it's marry my daughter, marry my daughter, marry my daughter, marry my daughter. Yeah, right. Well, anyways, now that has been done with, Farah's past has been proven, and me telling it, records and evidences will prove without a reasonable doubt that she's an exaggerator. Next video I'm going to make is going to be on why this child talking point cannot work against me, especially when my mother had already talked to law enforcement, whereas all of law enforcement's BFS, like Asad, never talked to law enforcement about anything, and my mother did when I was a child. And so that's going to be the next video, and their talking point cannot be used against me as a child or my mother, since my mother would not even be present, and the fact that she fulfilled her promise. I was never seen in any settings ever again since the moment I reached mental maturity as a child, means that me and my mother cannot be blamed. The people to be blamed are law enforcement, who are still stubbornly and arrogantly running their money fraud right now. Even though they've been told by the government, you got to stop doing this, they won't listen. Sex schemes being run with Uncle Joey's in-laws since 2001, so aggressively, and such BFF-ship on their sex scheme that in 2023, they were aggressively running reciprocal sex schemes for Uncle Joey, so much so that foreign statesmen started quoting Uncle Joey. Yes. So the next video is going to cover how law enforcement's talking point that law enforcement cannot use themselves does not apply to either me or my mother. Instead, it applies to law enforcement themselves, who covered over everything, and their BFFs, whom they're running their sex schemes and money fraud with right now as we speak. And these talking points should be used by law enforcement, not someone like Farah the Greedy Framer, who was caught lying multiple times to enviously lock up my brain savant, only for her to then blackmail me with price tags of money, and then ask me to commit incest, and then right now, for the past 2 weeks, asking me forcefully to marry her ugly-looking weirdo daughter. Not her. Her motive is invalid and is clearly proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Law enforcement has to use these talking points themselves, but these talking points cannot apply to me or my mother, since I was not even a mentally mature enough child yet. And, yeah, my mother had already talked to law enforcement about this, and she would never be present in any of the settings where anything even remotely considered bad could be said. And she fulfilled her promise the first moment I became mentally mature enough to be at home alone, as she said on February 15th at 8:30 p.m. that I only had to leave you around till you became mentally mature enough, and then after that point, when you were a child, you stayed at home, and that's what the records and evidences will show. So my next video is going to cover how law enforcement's talking point does not apply to me. It only applies to law enforcement and their BFFs. And yeah, if anyone did even say anything bad around me as a child, it would be more than 20 years ago, at least, like decades ago. Since the war occurred when I was an 11-year-old child. That's a quarter of a century ago. That was when I was like that was 11-year-old child. Yeah, it's like quarter of a century ago, 25 years ago. So that's like decades into the past, at least 2 decades into the past. So yeah, and those apply to law enforcement and their BFFs and not me, or my mother, since my mother would not be around to. If anyone did say anything bad around me, it was only due to forced necessity of a single mother. She would be at work at either fast food restaurants or working at factories at nighttime. And the people who would say anything, well, my mother would never let me near them ever again, as the phone conversation from Russia showed that she was irritated and disgusted by these individuals that she had to leave me behind with, clearly showing through facts and evidences that it was only due to the force and necessity of a single mother. And never again after I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity, while law enforcement and their BFFs, they're still together, they're running their sex schemes and money fraud the entire time, till this very day today, when law enforcement is still stubbornly running their money fraud right now and sex schemes with Uncle Joey's in-laws. Well, the next video is going to be on the child. More than decades ago, if anyone did say anything bad around me as a child, it would only be saying, and even that would be law enforcement's on BFFs, and that would only be when I was not even a mentally mature enough child yet in this world, and it would only be after my mother had already talked to law enforcement about it when I was an 11-year-old child. And my mother would have fulfilled her promise the first moment I would become mentally mature enough to be left at home alone, not requiring random people to watch me for free, like Uncle Joey, who is law enforcement's BFF. And we already know from November 2023 at the funeral how aggressively law enforcement ran their sex scheme ads for Uncle Joey, and how I refused to help them each and every time after my mother told me as a child to never go near him, as the phone conversation from Russia clearly showed. And yes, I've never seen Uncle Joey ever again since I was a child, not even mentally mature enough yet in the world. And guess what? Law enforcement's still running their sex schemes with Uncle Joey's in-laws. Their money fraud, they're still collecting their savings, their money from the savings of the money fraud that they were started running very stubbornly right now. So the next video is going to cover the child. It's going to talk about how the talking points that law enforcement cannot use, they cannot give to someone like Farah the Greedy Framer just because she's been caught lying too many times and she doesn't have any talking points of her own. And law enforcement cannot use this because law enforcement's been running sex schemes and money fraud right now as we speak. Yeah, the next video is going to cover the child and basically, yes, talk about all the about how this does not apply to me or my mother, since my mother had already talked to law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child. Unlike law enforcement's BFFs like Assad, who were present in the wedding incident that law enforcement tried to frame me for in 2023, Assad never reported a thing. He committed the crime himself. He was present in it. He was involved in it, only for law enforcement to become BFFs with Assad, cover over the crime, run sex schemes and money fraud. And in the end, they're using Assad to narrate in the trial against me. Can you believe it? The irony over here. And yeah, finally the courts find out. Law enforcement and Assad were the criminals and I was not. And law enforcement's only been obsessed with me, trying to frame me since the moment they found out about my brain savant, and extremely envious of it. So the next video is going to cover the child. Thank you.